Rob, the Premiership grind continues this weekend with Northampton Saints coming. A side that haven't played but in the past week, but a side that you know from past experience will be tough.
Yeah, obviously we end up playing them a fair bit in recent times because of the makeup of the calendar and obviously the quarter-final in Europe. And we've always found them a tough challenge. We're expecting the same again, and I think that's the thing for us at the moment. It's not we've won these 3 games, but we've won it based on the hard work the players have put in. We haven't tried to be overcomplicated. We haven't tried to make it all too difficult. We just talked about those real foundation elements about being prepared to go out onto the field, work hard for 80 minutes, be tough, deal with what's coming, stick together, stay disciplined. Players have done that remarkably well, and I think you've seen 2 tough, real tough, hard assignments away at Worcester and Newcastle on rubber crumb pitches, which, what anybody says, they're not everybody's favourite surface, and you've got to decide to be tough there mentally as well as anything else. Obviously in testing conditions because of the cold and various wind and snow elements and travel arrangements, and the lads have just decided to work hard and be tough. And they were tight games, but because we defended so well, the scoreboard has always stayed in our favour, and then we really doubled that up again against London Irish. So defensively we were fantastic, real energy and enthusiasm in defence. Gain line was always controlled by us in the game, and then our attack just started to purr a little bit, which was great. I mean, the conditions were better. I mean, it was cold, but it was dry, and the conditions were better. The pitch had firmed up a little bit, and I think you just started to see us just starting to show some of those qualities that people are probably expecting to see in us every week, but are probably a bit unfair for them to see every week because a lot of the conditions and a lot of the opportunities to do that haven't been there. But they were there at the weekend. Whether they'll be there this weekend because the weather looks wet again, we'll wait and see. But the one thing that I would like to think we can still promise we'll do is we'll work hard. And if we work hard and we're tough in defence, you give yourself a great chance to win games of rugby.
That's something you cannot train, though, is it, into a person? If they've got to have a willingness to want to work and fight, and that's what, as you say, you've seen it in spades in these last 3 weeks. Yeah,
I mean, the biggest credit I can give our lads is they know how to care about what they do. And that's what they do. They're caring about how they're playing, they're caring about each other, and that's given them that great foundation to play some good rugby and win games. And that's all we can really ask them about. Ask for week in, week out. I can't ask them for a perfect game of rugby. That you can't ask for that every single week. You can't ask for loads of tries and this, because as much as people go, "Oh, that's what great teams do," it's not. Great teams don't do that. Great teams understand that you've got to get your head down and work hard. And that you create those moments, you create those opportunities, and sometimes you'll be right in the form to take them. Sometimes you might not be, but you keep creating them and you keep working hard. And if you have to grind out the other result, you grind it out. If you can break it open, great, you break it open. But it's not a perfect. It's not hunting for a perfect game that creates a good side. It's hunting perfect temperament and perfect attitude, and that's the thing we spend most time hunting for is the attitude and the commitment to the game.
You're missing senior guys, but you've said in recent weeks how impressed you've been with some of the younger guys. You like some Marcus Street, Richard Capstick, even Harvey Skinner coming on last week, Josh Hodge. Do you get a huge sense of satisfaction from seeing those guys grow? And is this potentially another golden group which replicates the past?
Yeah, of course you get some. You get a satisfaction because you've known guys like Capstick and Cappers and Streety for that extended period of time, with them coming through our academy. Same with Harvey, coming through kind of an academy group and getting a decent block of time in a Premiership game was fantastic for him, great for his development. So you see that, but you also, we work very hard on our recruitment, we work very hard on the quality that's going to come through our academy, and because, the job here it's not just my job, the job of all the coaching team and all the people involved in the club is not just today's game, it's where we want this club to be in 3 years' time, 5 years' time, 6 years' time, who knows? And so having a group of young players who are starting to show real Premiership promise is always going to be important, always going to be satisfying, always going to just keep us looking forward with a bit of enthusiasm for what's ahead. We've spent a lot of time, and I particularly in this last probably 12 months, 2 years, have spent even more time on recruiting and looking at young players who may be able to fit into this group over the period, because I would never want to think that we look back on a period now where we've won some trophies and it was a blip, it was a one-off, and we could never rebuild or keep driving through that quality of team. So it's great to see it happening, because at the end of the day, in the current climate we're in, it is the only game time these guys are getting is to drop into a Premiership game. Now that makes it tough, And it means, as I said before, they almost have to turn up as winners. They have to put on that shirt and go, I'm going to win a game of Premiership Rugby today, and I'm going to contribute to that win. I'm not going to run around with a smile on my face because I'm playing in the first team. And I think you've seen Richard Capstick grow in that way. He looks a different player to 12 months ago. I think you're seeing Marcus Street grow like that. He looks a different player. I think on Saturday you saw that in Josh Hodge. He looked a different player to where he was running around at the end of last season. And I think those things, same with Harvey, you watch that second half and gone, oh, we're fine here, aren't we? Joe Simmons is lost and Harvey comes in and we're fine. That's the feeling you want to have with the young players, and it's been tough on them because we have been tough on them. I don't mind telling you, they've had more tough reviews, more tough time with the coaches than any of the senior players. But I think you're seeing the fruits of that now.
Obviously, it was a physical game last week. There was quite a few bangs in the game. Give us an update on Alex Cuthbert, Liam Whitten, and Joe Simmons. How are they all looking this week?
Cuthy's okay. He's running, but he's not fully training with us. Obviously, we took him off as a precaution. We could have left him out there. I think now, in hindsight, it was a good job we got him off because he was tightening up around his back neurally, which was giving him some, feeling down his hamstrings that he was tightening up. Obviously, he's had issues there before. So we got him off, thankfully. Ian Whitten probably won't be so pleased that we got him off because then he ran straight into someone's head. But so we got him off, and we're going to have to be careful with Cuthy this week, I think, just because of his history. We don't want to risk injuring him for a big period when a little bit of careful management now will make him available again very quickly. So it's not a big issue, Cuthy. It's not a re-injury. It's just a precautionary situation. And both lads with HIAs. They're both doing their graduated return to play protocols. They've both passed them up to date so far. There's still a couple of steps they've got to go through, but they're passing to date. I've spoken to them both again today. They're both very aware that there's no expectation on them to pass, that they've got to be completely honest with myself and with the doctors, and don't go thinking there's any pressure on them to play because there's not. The reality is you don't take any chances with these. They were both genuine, obvious head collisions. Everyone saw those. They need to make sure they get their bit right as much as we can get our bits right. But at this stage, if you met them and walked around now, you wouldn't think anything was going on. There's nothing wrong. They've passed their bits up to now. Now it starts to get a little bit harder. They expect to do a little bit more physically now before the end of the week. And so if anything is going to potentially pull them out, it could happen now. But at this stage, everything's fine that they could potentially be involved this weekend.
Bumps and bruises part of the game, but obviously on the plus side, you're seeing your squad thicken out in training with Knowlesy, with Jacques Vermeulen, with Ben Moon, people like that. Giannis Kirsten, all getting close now. Yeah,
obviously Knowlesy's out virtually in full training now, so Jacques, so they could both easily be declared fit by the end of this week, fit to selection, which would be great. Moon is close. He's doing a lot more full-on stuff. He's banging into people on bags. He's working his way up through the scrummaging scenario of one-on-ones, 3-on-3s, working his way towards full scrummaging. Once he's pretty much done that, that's the last big test for him. He'll be declared fit, which could happen in the next week or so. So you've got some quality players there. Giannis Kirsten's a week, 10 days away maybe. We've got some quality players there who are just around the corner. That on top of guys like, I thought Will Whitty had his best game of the season against London Irish. So the guys who are in there are starting to come through as well. So and we're getting to roughly about halfway through the international period. So at the moment we're starting to feel good about the squad and where we're heading. But that in itself doesn't deal with this weekend's challenge, which is Saints, and that's what we've got to do. I always think this time of year you have two big challenges, and they're yourself and they're the next team you play. Because anything else, and if you think about anything else other than that, you get it all wrong. If you start overlooking where the future might lead to, and we've got these players coming back, everything is going to be great. We'll have this strength in depth. It all goes wrong because you forget about what's happening, and that's today's training, which is our challenge today, and it's playing Northampton on Saturday because that's our next challenge. It's the only one that really matters.